What's going on, everyone? I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Nice into the week. It's Friday, going into the weekend, long weekend for us traders. It's going to be a good weekend. Looking to take some time away from the markets. Today, we're going to be looking, per usual, at the E-mini futures contract. Going to go over what occurred today on our intraday 30-minute time frame, and then we're going to go over the larger time frames from the monthly, weekly down into the daily, kind of review what's been going on there. Right now, we're looking at our 30-minute chart. If you've never seen my charts before, this is a 30-minute bar chart. So each one of these is basically a 30-minute candle, and that's what we are looking at. The blue lines that you see, um, the blue lines that you see from the top down to the low, top to the low, that is value area. So anything in between that area is value. The blue dash line that you see is called half back. The red line that you see here is our opening, right? So let's go over what has occurred. Over the past several days, we've been chopping back and forth inside of a range for quite some time. Finally, we started to find some type of stall as the market has been moving up pretty good over the past several weeks. Past several days, we've been moving up pretty good, and now we've kind of come into a sideways consolidation. Inventory has been chopping back and forth, trying to find acceptance above the 4130 level, above the 4141 level, but we have not quite found that. So with that in mind, the market is starting to slow down. We're starting to find less and less buyers up here. When that occurs, that means there's more supply and inventory will adjust lower, right? And that's what occurred today. We opened today with a gap to the downside below yesterday's low. So previous day low was right here. We gap below that. We open up down here at 40, what was it, 4076.25. Yesterday's low was, and where we closed at was 4099.25, and yesterday's low was 4097.25. So we gap below that by pretty good. So showing that sellers are in the market, showing that sellers have stepped into the market and that they are present. Um, we held the gap for the most part of the day. Pretty much all day long, we held the gap. We had value that was completely lower. So, like I said, in between the blue lines that you see here, that is value area. That is 70% of where the day's volume is done. So value was from up here to now down here. So value is moving lower. That is just a sign that sellers are in control. Early on, we opened up pretty low, right? Pushed down to the lows, didn't get much extension. Let me pull up all my destinations here for you guys. We opened up below previous day's low. We opened up below that 11 point of control back from this day here on the 10th, right? That was also last week's low, weekly low. At 4069.75 was also the weekly low. So we opened up, got that weekly low, got below it. That was also the daily low of that day, got below it. We attempted to push lower down to this 4048 area. Couldn't quite get there. Inventory dried up a little bit on the sell side, and we rotated higher. Then finally took out A's high, A period's high. B did. We begin one time framing up. C period takes out B's high. Continue to one time frame up. We get that 11 wide point of control. In yesterday's video, I was discussing how if we opened up below or near the day's low and got it, you would get this 11 wide point of control down here at 40, 80, 70. At 87, 40, 87, excuse me. And then from there, you would look to get these other daily lows, 40, 69, 75, and then that 40, 48, 20, 50 area, and then so on and so forth. So we got those areas, right? So we're going to take it off our chart. I'm going to keep this 4069 area on here because it is a pretty important area as it was last week's low. And we finally got it today. So we opened up with a gap to the downsides, showing things are in seller's favor. The pushes up in B and in C period, even though we were one time framing up, we're not very strong. It was just inventory being adjusted. So anybody that was short in the overnight session and from yesterday's price action, they were exiting their position down here below the previous week's low and buying the market back up. And then you had momentum buyers step into the market, and anybody that was caught long up here, they were getting out of their positions. So that caused some sell pressure and caused the market to roll over. We chopped back and forth between the opening A, B, and C period, showing that there was lack of conviction in either direction. Uh, and then finally in D period, we attempted to push near the lows. Didn't get much for it. Got near the low. Same thing here in E period. So showing that sellers were not quite in control. Now keep in mind this 4069 area, 4069.75 was the previous week's low. So with that in mind, seeing that we couldn't push much further past it and get some sort of trend going, and instead we were getting a wide point of control here, and all a point of control is 10% of the day's volume, right? Where most of the day's volume is going to be. So in this 4068 to 4069 area, a lot of the day's volume was done at that price, showing that buyers and sellers were both happy in that area. So we kept rotating back to it. So when D pushed down, we couldn't take out the day's low. We rotated up to that. When E pushed down, couldn't take out the day's low. We rotated up to that, and then so on and so forth. But keeping in mind, sellers were in control for most of the day. We hadn't seen the opening since C period. So on pushers up, you were comfortable shorting. Obviously, you didn't want to stay married to the trade. You wanted to get out at certain targets. So if you were buying down here at the lows, you were looking to rotate up into the point of control at the time where 4068, 4069 was. And if you were shorting, you were looking to rotate down into uh, the lower end of the point of control, which was this 4063 area. All right. If you were a seller, you're wanting to move point of control down to this area and then go trend and then go down to the downside. That did not occur, but it did still provide good opportunities. Uh, I took trades in E period and in F period on pushes up, both shorts, both paid well. I got caught early on in D period trying to take longs, or trying to buy the market near the low, but we weren't quite strong, so I got out of my position for a loss, and then made back most of an E period, and then made good profit on the day in F period. And I'll review that trade here in a second. Let's go over the rest of the day first. Then in G period, we made a new low on the day. H period, we couldn't quite make a new low. I consolidation inside bar, and then you could kind of see that this market really wasn't getting much extension past the 69.75 level, the previous week's low. So point of control had been here the entire time, 69, and then finally in J period we begin to relieve some of that pressure, taking out F period, which at the time was our afternoon rally high, and then re-rotate up higher, relieving the short pressure, but still holding the gap on the day. We go out with a poor high, so an L and M, kind of like here in G and K period. Demand shut off up here. There were no more buyers at that area. Same thing in L and M. There were no more buyers present in this area. Nobody wanted to buy above that, so we didn't push up any higher. So we end with today's high, today's low, and then a 10 wide point of control here at I's high, which is 4068.50. Now to go over my trade. I know that was a mouthful, but to go over my trade, I was taking shorts in an E period and an F period. I have them highlighted here on the 1 minute time frame. So whenever you have a market that is trying to push lower, but it isn't getting much extension, you tend to get short covering or some type of relief like we had here in E and an F period. So the market starts to move up again, providing an opportunity for those of us waiting on the sideline to get a better price to sell at. And then those that were buying here, give them an area where they were comfortable taking profit. So supply is in this area that we're looking at. So if I go to my 1 minute chart, I can show you that here is an area where I was looking to short an E period against the 144 simple moving average on the 1 minute chart. That is something I highly recommend traders have on their chart. Excuse me, is a 1 minute or a 144 simple moving average. That way you can take it whenever you have days like today. You can have a setup that you can rely on for pretty good profit. So I was taking shorts here against this 144 simple moving average. I entered right at 69 and 70. This thing rolls over. I'll take profit here at the 9 EMA because I don't want to stay married to the trade. The market has been moving up. I don't know how much more they're going to relieve of the short pressure. So my target is the 9 EMA. So from 70 and 69, I get out at 66, make 4 points to 5 points on the trade. And then this thing, obviously, if you're willing to hold on a little bit longer from the 144 down to the standard deviation is 64 or below where it gets bought back up. Obviously, uh, if you have more cojones than me, then that's the type of trade you hold. If you like hold for longer, but for me, I like to take my profit when it's there when building a small account. So I shorted here, we rotate lower, I take my profit. And then I wait for another opportunity that we had up here in uh, F period. Now you're probably asking, why didn't I short the 144 again? I could have and scalped out small on it, but I was waiting for a better price. I'd seen that the market in an F period at the time, all right? In F period at the time, we couldn't get near E's low, so showing that buyers were still present in the market. So I was expecting us to take out E's high, and then that's where I wanted to start shorting was above E's high. E's high at the time was 40.70, so I wanted to start shorting around that area, which also correlated with VWAP at the time. So I knew, all right, you have VWAP there, and then you had the opening up above at 40.76, which I would have used as my stop. So I would have gotten out of my trade above 40.76. So as F period pushed up, I began shorting at 70, added some on at 72, and I was thinking of adding on some up here at 75, but I had pretty good size on, and I felt if we were to pop 76, I did not want to take any more risk. So I was could I have waited for us to pull back a little bit and for me to enter my position? Yes, but eventually, uh, anybody that had bought down here had gotten above that first standard deviation, gotten above the 144, and then gotten up to VWAP where they distributed their shares, got out of their positions, and this thing starts to roll over. I exit some of my position at the 144 simple moving average, which is an area that people target sometimes. And as you can see, we came down to it and got an initial reaction bounce. So I exited my trade 68, a few of my contracts, and then I was in theory or in my mind, I was expecting us to bring point of control from D's high at the time, which 69, 68, and because POC is ever evolving, it constantly moves. So I was expecting point of control to move down here to 63, uh, and then us go trend on the day. We didn't quite get that, but I was right about moving down into the 63 area because I held until G period. G pulls back, gets down to that 64, 63 area, which is where I exited my full position as that was my target. I wanted to target the standard deviation of 64. Um, and then, yes, I could have held and seen if we got down to the next area, which was that lower standard deviation, the second standard deviation around 55. And we set a new low on the day. So that was a great risk reward trade against VWAP, against the opening, against halfback, and understanding that in context, sellers had control of the day. And guess what? You short here, and if you're targeting a new low on the day, you got that profit pretty good. You profited pretty well. And then obviously people covered their shares down here and we began to rotate up again. Um, but great trade set up there. Afternoon rally high. Something you can always look to if a market is attempting to move in a certain direction. Uh, and you got to take things into context. We had taken out our initial balance low. Even though we had taken out our initial balance high, we came back down, got the initial balance low, and then so on and so forth. So just things in context help determine what the market's going to do. All right, let's go ahead and mark our destinations real quick for you guys, and then go over our larger time frames. But that is the one. That's the one trade setup that I'm basically trading every day from here on out is afternoon rally highs, as there really isn't much for me. All right, so we're gonna mark the previous day's high, or excuse me, the previous day's low as a gap fill area, because that is where the gap will fill. We're going to mark today's high where the gap starts at 90.50. So 40.90.50 is where our high of day and the gap starts from the day. High day. Gap starts. Boom. We have our 10 wide point of control here. How do I know it's 10 wide? Because there are 13 time frames in the day. Out of 13 time frames, 10 of those traded back and forth through this 68.50 area. Like I said, point of control is always evolving. So it's also the way to determine it is the widest point in the profile. So basically the widest area of volume and time spent in a price nearest half back. So half back here is 40.73. The widest area in the profile is at 68.50. So that just shows you that is where point of control is. So you got point of control there. And then you got our low day here at 40.55.75. Low day. Boom. Oh, I didn't even label. Hold on. 10 wide. Excuse me. 10 wide. So that's what you're looking at. You have today's high, today's low, a 10 wide point of control, and a gap. So next week we have Monday off. There's no trading on Monday, but Tuesday, or there'll be futures trading, but there won't be the market in general will not be trading. However, we come in Tuesday, we open up inside the day's range, and we can't take out the high or get into the gap. You'll look to rotate down into this 10 wide point of control, 68.50. And then if you get there, look to rotate down into 40.55.75, and so on and so forth, down to 40.48.50, down to 40.33.25, and then our balance low at 40.29.50. If we open up below the point of control and can't take out the day's low, you'll look to rotate up into because this acts as a magnet, right? Price is attracted to this area, so you'll look to rotate up to 40.68.50, and then get 40.90.50, fill the gap at 40.97.25. Then you'd look to rotate up to the previous day's high, 41.45.50, and then put the daily back, or continue to stay in a balance. So those are just some scenarios that we could look forward to in the next or into the coming days. Let's go over our larger time frames. So monthly, nasty looking wick, but still in balance for me. All right. We came out of an inside month to the upside, and so far it is failing. That's why I did not want to say that the monthly is still one time frame up. However, we still have, what is it? We still got roughly a week, about a week left, week and a half left of trading in this month before we determine if this was a massive failure above this 41.41 level. Monthly balance high for me, 43.27.50. Balance low, 35.02. Let's go into our weekly. Weekly, once again, all three of these past weeks, we had 2 inside weeks and then finally came out of an inside week to the downside, but didn't get much extension past last week's low at 40.69.75. So weekly is firmly in a 3-week balance now. We have stopped the one time framing up. We were one time framing up, taking out previous. Don't know why I did that. Taking out previous weekly highs. So we were taking it out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row. And then we went from up to balance. And then we've gone from balance to, or up to balance to firmly in balance now that we've taken out last week's low. So balance is 40 or 42.0850, balance high, down to 40.2950, balance low. Go into our daily. Daily, strictly balance. Nothing's changed. Now, could you have said this area here was your balance here at 40.69? Uh, let's just say 40.69. I think it was what, 50. Could you have said that was your balance low and then this was your balance high? Yes, your daily would be kind of one time framing down, but for me, my balance area where my area of consolidation is 42.0850, 40.2950, just still chopping around inside this range. However, something not to forget, not to note, is we are below the 20-day moving average for the first time in several days. Uh, Now, do we get acceptance below it? Maybe we back test, fill this gap, back test the 20-day moving average, and then finally get some extension to the downside, get below the balance low, and then test the 50-day moving average. That's one scenario. Do we get back above the 20-day moving average, continue to grind higher, maybe test 42.850 level, and then get this 50-day moving average to curl up more? That's also a scenario. Or do we just chop back and forth inside this range even more so? That's another scenario. Very possible. But so far this year, what's been occurring is we've been setting higher highs, higher lows. Is this just another set of higher highs and higher lows stepping into the market here um, as we are digesting a lot of the data, a lot of the Fed decision, see what occurs. Um, Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for stopping by. Please leave a like and subscribe if you are new. We'll catch you guys in the next one.